My name is Faye Manheim.
Is a legend in the Greensboro Fire Department, especially with firefighters that came along in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. What year did you start and what year did you retire?
I started in 1957 and I retired in May of 95.
First of all, where in Greensboro? Did you grow up in Greensboro area?
I grew up in Brown Summit, North Carolina, really Rudd Station, and I went to Brightwood School for 7 years, and then I went to graduate from Rankin High School. And then after I got out of school, I applied for a job with the city and with the county, a couple other places, but I got hired by the fire department. And I was there 39 years with my sick leave, and that's home, always been home to me. I grew up there. I learned a lot. And so I loved fire department, really, I grew up in. And I think that I just loved everybody. It's a family. And my first day on the job, I was scared to death because Chief Warwick, back then, when a new employee came on the fire department, Chief Warwick called before they changed shifts at 8. He called everybody on the floor, and he would tell you that we have a new employee, and I want you to treat them. And he said, this will only be the second lady that we have, and I want you to treat her like she was your sister or your mother and be kind. And Chief Warwick really scared me to death because he was, everybody knows how he was, but he was just a jewel. He was a pet. He was just a big bear, really. So, and then I started off in Fire Prevention Bureau, and then from Fire Prevention, after 6 years, I was transferred over to be Chief Warwick's secretary, and I stayed there until 1995 when I retired. And I had quite busy life on the fire department. So it was definitely, I loved everybody. I loved the wives, the children. I knew every one of them by name, probably up to about 400 of them, and the names of their children, their wives. And of course, because I would be, when they would come to work, I would sign them up, go over all of our benefits, what they were entitled to, and if they had any questions, they could always call me. I'd be available to them, even after hours, and some of them did. So it was a family thing. And then I was single when I came on the fire department. And then after, I guess, 28, I got married to Mike Manheim and have 3 children, have 11 grandchildren. So then I had quite a busy life, but the fire department, it's been my home. It'll always be my home. And the firemen will always be my family. I mean, I love them all. And every time I see the truck or hear one, I know the difference between an ambulance and a fire truck horn. So it's been a long, great journey. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I feel like I've been blessed. I'm really blessed. And I tell you, I love the fire department. I love my family. I love the ones I work with, the ones retired, and I love the new ones when I meet them. I'll always be. Fire department will always be my home.
Faye, you worked for, how many fire chiefs did you work for?
I worked for 5.
Can you name those for me?
My first one was, of course, C.W. Moon Warwick, Santa Claus. And then the next one was Buck Boucher. And then after Chief Boucher retired, then R.L. Powell was the next chief. And then after Chief Powell, then there was Frankie Jones, Chief Jones. And then after Chief Jones left, then it was Ray Flowers. And he was my last chief I worked for.
Tell us a little about Santa Claus and Moon Warwick. What was the tradition there? Tell us.
Well, uh, Chief Warwick was Santa Claus in the parade every year. He was always Santa Claus. And he was Santa Claus, I guess, until he got so he couldn't do it anymore, even after he retired. And so he's quite a big, burly guy, and he was a Santa. He was a Santa Claus.
Is anything that you'd like to share about any of those fire chiefs? Anything particular about each one that you've thought about?
Each one of them was completely different. Chief Warwick, if he kind of got upset with a little about you, then he'd get over it. He'd be over it. He'd go in his office and he'd come back out. Nothing was wrong. Then Chief O'Shea he was just, nothing really seemed to bother him. He didn't get upset. He would, he'd always play golf once a week, and I'd go to the beauty shop on every week, and he had me to change my hour to go to the beauty shop. So on Wednesday, he always played Wednesdays. And some of the firemen that he hired later worked out at Sedgefield where he could play golf. So, but I'd come back, I'd go to beauty shop at 9 o'clock in the morning. So 1 o'clock, he'd have a meeting on the golf course. So, and then Frank Jones, Chief Jones, I was always taught, no matter what, you will respect their title. You call them a chief, captain, whatever they were. And I'd call Chief Jones, and he'd say, "My name's Frankie, you know that." But anyway, and then Chief Flowers, he was good. He was a little different. He was strict, but he was very easy going, and he would ask for help, a lot of help. But he was a good chief. So I was very fortunate. But when I first came on the fire department, see Chief Truelove, Fred Truelove, was head of fire prevention. And there were only four inspectors at the time. And the four inspectors, Chief Truelove, Chief Powell, Chief O'Shea, all of us shared the same office. One, the front office, and it was really tight in there. And then the training they didn't have a place for fire prevention. So the kitchen, took the old kitchen in the back of the main station on Church Street, 1514 North Church. Not this one, but up there on Green Street. The kitchen was turned into fire prevention. So they moved the kitchen over to the maintenance side where the maintenance was. And then the maintenance was moved out to Church Street. So that's where I started with this fire prevention.
Faye, you had some time on the radio. Tell us about some of that.
Okay, like I say, at the time when I came on and it was in fire prevention, they didn't have any programs going on to talk about fire prevention week or fire prevention programs. So they selected me to do I went around to all the radio stations at Christmas and Fire Prevention Week, and I would do all the spot announcements, and I'd do some on TV, and then I did some TV programs like What's Cooking, and then also Cordelia Kelly, and so I did several of those shows. I would meet with the Ladies Auxiliary and tell them what we were doing, because I belonged to the Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary, and we had 49 members in the Greensboro Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary. We did quite a bit, and one thing that we did to raise money, Chief Perry found us a canteen, old truck, and he rebuilt it. And so then when we raised money, and one of the firemen's wife, Tiny Wagner, his wife, and I, we worked for the hockey team, selling tickets for the Greensboro hockey team to raise money for the canteen, get the canteen truck going. And then once we got the canteen truck going, then it was, we had a big party at number 1 station where the mayor and everybody, cut the ribbon, and that was the canteen truck. But we did do different things to raise money, so it was fun.
Tell us what the ladies auxiliary did for the firefighters as far as fire scene.
Okay, when there had be a fire, any type of fire, we felt that we were needed and they were needed, they would be contacted. And we had several big fires, and we kept the canteen truck fully supplied. And then on the day if there was a fire, then and the ladies would go by, get donuts, would get fresh stuff that day to serve the fire. We always kept plenty of coffee, plenty of water. It was, the ladies auxiliary did a really good job, and it was going for years. And then it just, as the fire department got bigger, we don't know, it just kind of dissolved, and then the fire, I think they took over the truck.
During those 10-year periods, 50, 60, 70, any changes that stand out in your mind as far as the fire department, how it changed? Anything that stands out?
Well, yes, a lot of things changed, because like when came on, and the fire would the fireman would be out on the fire. Of course, they used your hose. They had to mark down, each station would mark down each hose. So we had a card. We didn't have computers and things then. So then they would turn in the next day to me. They would turn in the amount of fire hose they used, what size, 2.5, 1.5 inch. I don't know if we even had 3 inch then. But anyway, then we kept a card box, and we had to keep every fire hose that was pulled out off that truck. So then that changed later. Then when the years went by and things were upgraded, and the same thing with, like, when the merit increases, if a captain, they all would have their meetings, and everything back then was entered by hand. And then the city got a computer program, and then I had a computer, and then I would go online and keep up with the merit raises or anything, the budget. Then I entered the budget. I'd attend the budget meetings with them, and we would go over anything that was wrong on the budget. And then we always had to, I guess the chief would always go to the meeting and then come back. We'd have to take something out. So we'd start all over from each thing and pull something out and cut it back. And then I kept up with the firemen and their leaves, all their leave, sick leave. Or when I came on, there was no such thing. You could accumulate 90 days. That was it. For my first, say, 7 or 8 years, I couldn't accumulate more than 90 days. So, and then it changed, and then for a good thing, and then you could use that later as retirement. So 6 or 7 years, I couldn't go over 90 days, even though I had them, but couldn't use them. But there's been so many changes. Back then, I'd have to get a chief to drive me down to pick up payroll. And then on the days of payroll, I'd come in an hour earlier and meet the chiefs, and they would take them and drop the payroll off at the fire station. So it's been quite a few changes. I mean, we've gone from not a computer to everything doing in hand to a computer. It's been quite interesting.
During that time, you met a lot of different personalities. Everybody loves you. He was always nice to everybody, helpful and cordial, and that's one thing that stood out about you for sure. Do you remember any characters in there? You don't have to tell me some of the things they did. Any characters that stand out in your names you want to mention that?
Well, I won't mention any names, but there would be some of the firemen that would call me, and they were kind of worried that they were going to run over their leave, or maybe that they could trust me. I was loyal to all my chiefs, very loyal, And I was loyal to the firemen that asked me something and they didn't want it to go anywhere else. I was loyal to them, and if I knew I could help them, they knew that they could call me. And I was like on call. I told them I was on call 24 hours. They needed me. I'm there. Some did. So,
Tell us a little bit about some awards you received. You received some awards during your career. Remember some of the awards that you received?
yes, the city of Greensboro never had a city employee of the year. So they had each department, all the departments had to turn in someone that they suggested to be a city employee of the year. And so my name was submitted among, say, 15, 20, how many departments there were in the city. They included police, all of them. And then out of all of them, I was lucky to be selected as the first employee of the year for the city of Greensboro. So, and then I had a few other awards. I can't remember all of them. And I guess one of the biggest rewards was, I guess, the day that I retired. And on that final day, Chief Flowers and them, they made me an honorary fire chief for the city. And in my lifetime with the city of Greensboro Fire Department, I only remember two people that received that honor. And one of them was Gene Autry when he came to town and he came to the fire station. Chief Warwick made him the honorary fire chief for the city, and Herb Schreiner, who was the comedian. Those were the only two. And then when I received the award, I could not remember any other people. There might have been a couple slipped in by the city manager, but I don't. That was really made me so.
That was probably your proudest.
That was my proudest. I'm an honorary fire chief, city of Greensboro, till the day I died.
You know, firefighters through their career witness a lot of sad and bad things and good things as well. And you're all part of the department. Do you remember maybe some of your saddest moments that you comes to mind? Anything comes to mind about saddest moments that you?
Yes, one was your brother Raymond. I won't forget that day. Another one was Vic Stockard when he got killed. And the tractor ran over him. He was off duty, but I went with one of the chiefs. And at the time, Reverend Sam Socks was our chaplain. And I went with Reverend Sam and the chief on that time down to the house. And then the next, Jesse Gray. So there's been several of them. Some I probably can't remember, but there's been a lot of sadness. So the things that I went through.
If you could pick any part of your job, and it's a lot that you did, what was your favorite part? Do you have a favorite part of your job?
My favorite was just, I love the fire department. I just love my job. I love coming to work. I mean, I look forward to it every day. So, I mean, it was just getting up and coming, and the guys were so great. They were so sweet, and Miss Faye, and it was everything Miss Faye, and so it's just been my home, always be my home, like I say, until I'm 6 feet under, 10 feet.
Of course, now it's a mixture of male, female. What was it like back then, working in an all-male environment? I know you already said some of the things. What was it like?
It was good. The guys treated me. They were really good to me. And one thing I'll remember is when on the Friday before I was going to get married on Saturday in September, Captain Boat Bill called me into the kitchen, and where all the firemen were in there. And so I thought, what in the world, So they wanted to see me. And they had made up money for me for my honeymoon in New York. And so, I mean, they were really good to me. I mean, I just love them. I can't say anything other than I love them.
Central Station. the one on Green Street, opened 1926. Uh, what was it like working there at Central Station?
Well, I loved Old Central Station because that's where I started. And our office was right there, right as you walk in the door, your office was right there on the street. So, and then back then too, we had communications was there. But communications as you come in the other front door. So they were there until they were moved, up to the out to the city. And we knew all the guys on the in communications, and it was I just love the guys. I keep saying it over and over, but they were good to me. And they were sweet, and they were always inviting me for lunch or thing. And I learned one thing. I learned was on our first. I think when I went in the kitchen, and they invited me to come over after I got there for coffee. So I went over there and I asked for cream in my coffee, and they said we don't use cream here. So ever since then, I've learned to drink my coffee black. And they had the best, they were always inviting me to something.
What would you like the Greensboro Fire Department to remember about you?
That, that I was a good employee and that I loved my job and I loved everybody that I worked with and that I am part of their family. I'll always be part of their family. The new ones that come on now, and the ones that are gone in the past, the retirees, and I look forward like going to the retiree breakfast now, and I just enjoy. That's fire department's my home. I grew up there.
What would you like for your family to remember about you, Faye?
That they love me, and that and my husband especially, he knew that I loved my job, and he loved the firemen, and the firemen accepted him too. He was just really one of the firemen. And he used to say, I don't remember all their names, and I said, just call them Chief, and they'll be okay, and you make them feel good.
You worked at Green Supper Club.
Uh-huh.
For how many years?
I worked for Greens for over 35, 36 years, part-time. Worked there on Wednesdays, but mostly Friday and Saturday night. I worked for George Green. I knew him all my life, just about. And then I went out. I guess some of the firemen would go out on one night a week and go to the oyster bar and eat oysters, and I joined them. So then George asked me one night, said, would you come and be our hostess? And I said, yes. So I love that job too. That was my part-time job. Also went to school with some of the guys in fire prevention, and we were going to get our associate degree in fire science. And I went down, well, I'd already gone to school when I first came on. I was going to Guilford College, which was, Guilford College had a downtown division, but they eventually turned it into GTCC. So and then I took courses that would help me within my job with the fire department. And then the city had classes too for secretaries.
Faye, during your career and after your career, but after your career here, and you won the lottery, and couldn't happen to a nicer person. But a little quick story. Probably remember this. After Faye won one night, I called her and I said, Faye, glad you won. I need to ask you something. And I asked her, I said, could I borrow 50 cents? Do you remember that, Faye?
Yes. I would have loaned it to you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close it? Is there anything you'd like to say?
No, that I just want to tell everybody in the historical part of it that I love you all. I'll always love you, and y'all are dear to my heart. And that's it.
Faye, thank you for coming today. I think we covered a lot of things. It was very enlightening, as our listeners can see that the kind of person you are and a storied career. You lived in North Carolina, Florida, long career here, Green Supper Club. You've influenced a lot of people uh, in a very positive way. And like I said, the era of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and well, 90s there, you, you're a legend, and you're a big part of why the Greensboro Fire Department is what it is today. And that patch you got on right there, put a little patch around there. That's the our original patch. It's changed now to a red, more of a red color, but that was the original patch, similar to the police, but it's a nice jacket. How did you get that jacket?
Chief Jones said that since I was going around to the different radio stations and being on TV with the TV programs, that I needed to have some type of identification, and also that I was going to the funerals, when I went and sit with all the firefighters. And so I'd also like to say that I got along well with all the fire department, their wives and their children, and the wives, there was just something about them. We made good friends, and they knew they could count on me, and I still to this day when I see them, and like your wife, Larry, Jane, I love him. I love him. I just love him.
Captain Mooney, is anything you'd like to say, or?
It's an honor to sit in here and learn about, because I've met you a few times, but just being able to hear the stories. That's one of the things I love about the Historical Society, and is learning what happened before I got here, and a lot of things are the same in a way, but you go through different time periods and stuff, and it's just fascinating to me, and I really appreciate you allowing me to be in here and listen. And
well, thank you, Captain. Chief White, when of course nobody could ride a fire truck or anything, and we always bought American La France or Emergency One, and then also out of Virginia. And one day, one of the salesmen sells the American La France pulled up out front of the fire station on Green Street, and he was something else. And he said, "Come on." I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "Moon won't let you ride on the fire trucks, but we're going for a ride." I said, "What we're going to ride on?" He said, "This truck I'm delivering down to Atlanta, Georgia. You're going to ride in it before it gets to Georgia." So he rode me all down through Main Street. I mean, the funny things that happen. So, and we came back, on the way back, we passed Chief Boucher, Chief Powell, and Chief Ward, and they wanted to know what I was doing in that fire truck going to Georgia. So I have had a great time. Like I say, I love you all. I love you forever.